Welcome everybody to our very first virtual connection session of the year. Today we have a great topic that is of much interest to our membership and to the cultural community, and that is how to create your marketing strategy and bolster your online presence. I think we can all agree most everything has gone virtual in this socially distant time that we're in, and it's very important to put your best digital face forward to the world, because that's likely how people are going to be interacting with you and finding out about what you're doing during the pandemic and when your programs might be on site again or what you're offering virtually. We have Joe Mitchell from WHYY, PBS, and NPR with us. He's going to talk to you a little bit about creating your overall marketing strategy. And then we have Bruce Mishkin from Adventix, who's going to talk to you more specifically about digital tools that are available to you, Google assists that you can update and bolster to help your online presence be more robust and exciting to visitors. So with that said, we can get started with the presentation in just a moment. I think I have just one more person to let in. I don't want them to miss a thing, so let me let everyone in. Okay, we are all good. Joe Mitchell is going to be our first speaker. So Joe, I will allow you to share your screen. I'm going to stop my share. And Joe, do you see your option to share your screen? I can't hear you. You're going to have to come off of mute. Can you unmute, Joe?
Okay, sorry.
There we go. That happens at least once a meeting. That's okay.
And it will probably happen again, right?
Right.
So I'm not sure where I am supposed to be seeing that, Julie.
Down in the bottom toolbar, it should say share screen, like right in the center.
No, I don't have that. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. So you guys are seeing a screen now that says WHYY on it. Is that right?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So thank you all for putting up with that. Maybe that should be part of these sessions, how to make a better presence of your online Zoom presence, right? So first of all, thank you all for inviting me. Karen and Julie, thank you for letting me participate. I'm looking at the names of people on the screen coming up, a lot of names of people I recognize, people I've worked with over the years. I may have met many of you at different media. I've worked for a lot of different radio stations and media in South Jersey over the years, most recently with the Town Square Group in Atlantic City, Light Rock, Cat Country, ESPN, whatnot. Now I work with WHYY, Public Radio and Television in Philadelphia. And in both of those operations, and particularly now at WHYY, I work with a lot of people like you. Regardless of the size of your operation, an awful lot of what we do is work with nonprofit organizations and cultural groups. Obviously, that's what public media does. I work with everyone from the Free Library and the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia to smaller organizations like Lucy the Elephant with much smaller budgets. And all of those people, we have just figured out a way to help, right? A lot of the concepts that we're going to talk about here are pretty much marketing 101, things that you know anyway. But it helps to sort of review them and touch on them and look at them in the light of really what's going on in the world today. Really looking at, as Julie said, coordinating all of your media. What do we mean by media? Everything from traditional media like radio, newspaper, television, digital media, which is now traditional media. By 2021, that has now become the very traditional way to do things. But other things that we may not always consider media, like your sign, like your business card, like the word of mouth, like the way you speak about your business. Are all of these things consistent? Why do they need to be consistent? Because In the world we are today, there is no dominant media. There is nothing that everybody does anymore. It's not like everybody reads the daily paper anymore, or everybody watches the 6 o'clock news. So you need to use a combination of media. That doesn't all mean paid, by the way, but a combination of media to create a brand and impression in your audience's mind. Your customer, your perception of other businesses is based on a lot of different influences and not just one type of advertising or one digital display ad. Throughout, the way you do that is to create the same consistent message throughout all of the media. That doesn't mean a consistent slogan necessarily, but it means a consistent brand and a consistent image. We would all agree that Walmart's brand and their image is low prices. They talk about a lot of other things, but what Walmart is low prices. You talk about Ruth Chris Steakhouse, on the other hand, and their message is not low price. Their message might be outrageously high price, right? You would never eat Brussels sprouts in your life, but at Morton's or Ruth Chris, you're willing to pay $18 for a side dish of Brussels sprouts because they convey class and maybe even a bit of priciness. But those messages are consistent across everything they do. Is whatever your brand, your museum, your gallery, your theater, whatever your message is it the same across all of your media? If we were doing Marketing 101, we would have a class or two on this slide. You have probably seen it somewhere represented before. This is the marketing funnel, right? The marketing funnel is based upon the premise that there are multiple steps to converting a disinterested member of the community into someone who's going to actually use your product. It begins with awareness. First, do we make them aware of your product? Do they even know you exist? Okay, now they know you exist. Now, are they interested? Those are different things. I know you're there. Do I want to know more about you? Do I want to do business with you? Then there's decision. Okay, I will do business with you. And then the last one, which is different than decision, is actually doing business. We've all been in a store. We were ready to buy the product. Nobody ever asked us, and we left. I was out to lunch. I really wanted the cheesecake for dessert. The waitress never came back. I never got the cheesesteak. Are we converting the decision to the action? Different levels of marketing, different types of marketing can target each of the points of the funnel. The most marketing is targeted at the extremes, either the awareness, that's what most mass media marketing has done over the years, targeting making sure that people know about your product, or they target the action. In the old days, that used to be the yellow pages. Before I would reach out to your business, I would look up your number, so I'd go to the yellow pages and I'd get your number there. That has, in today's world, that is of course Google. When I search for a restaurant and your name comes up, do I click on your name? Now, I don't click on your name just because Google put it there, right? I need to have some awareness of your product, and that's why I choose the one that I click on. Very often, businesses in today's world interpret that to mean that all my traffic comes from Google. Everybody who contacts me comes from Google. Well, of course they do. Everybody who contacts everybody goes through Google now. But why are they calling you or contacting you as opposed to the other 30 things that showed up on Google? Because at some point, they have become aware and have developed interest in your product through other marketing and other relations and other things that you have done. So are you spending some time on each of these steps? And I reinforce for the 30th time, and I will continue to say it, that not all of those mean money. They don't all necessarily mean paid advertising, but they do mean you have to pay attention to it. The message that you deliver, as we said, needs to be consistent. Your message is best when it is what they want to hear and not what you want to talk about. We all have friends who talk about themselves, who can't form a sentence without the word I in it, and they are not very interesting. We have other people we know who are always asking you about yourself, and always talking about you. That's a much better conversation. Is the conversation you are having with consumers based upon them and what they're interested in, and not necessarily you and your features. If you're always talking about yourself, you're missing an opportunity. In today's world, on January 29th, 2021, everyone in America is concerned about the same thing. Everyone's concerned about the virus. If your messaging isn't aware that they are aware of the virus, you may be falling on deaf ears. If that doesn't mean you have to only be talking about the virus, but you have to at least know that that is a concern before they come to your gallery, your restaurant, whatever. And I know you know that, but are you addressing that? Are you taking that into consideration in whatever your message is? Because that's what they want to hear. Now, that message needs to be consistent across all of your media. And these are all the things that we talked about before that are your media, your website, your Facebook page. Do you do direct mail? Has that changed? Or are you sending out the same direct mail piece you sent out 5 years ago? That's probably not a good choice right now. Do you email to your members, to your potential customers, to the community? Do you do any paid advertising? Anything from as small as a church bulletin to actual, traditional major media advertising? Do you do press releases? Do you do interviews in the community, in the local paper or the local radio station? Do you do public appearances? Do you have a tent at the street fair? Do you do things at the Chamber of Commerce? What about your business card? What about your business card? Has that been updated lately? Do all of these convey the same message, the same feel? If your theater is a very modern theater, a very trendy theater, does your business card and everything else look trendy? If you have a retro theater and we're talking about vintage type things and heritage type stuff, do you have that type of presentation? Let's walk through a real quick example here of exactly what this could look like in terms of something you are all doing. I would imagine you have a newsletter for members, potential customers, donors, whatever. If you don't, we should probably talk about that. But I would hope that you are doing some sort of a newsletter. So is your newsletter media by the definition we used before? Of course it is. Of course it is media. And media, by my definition, is something you can control. You can control your media. So I can control the image I'm putting out there. Does my newsletter contain messaging that is consistent with my other messaging and is of their interest and not mine? So in other words, I want to make sure that my newsletter, which maybe you have 4 articles, 4 little posts inside a newsletter. That's probably a reasonable average number for a digitally emailed newsletter. Is at least one of those about something other than yourself? Do you have one about your new exhibit and one about maybe the new lobby that you've built and one about your fundraising event? Do you have one about the downtown area in general? Do you have one about your community? Do you have one about what's going on elsewhere in the SJCA? Do you talk about other cultural partners? Do you share other information? If you do, and your newsletter is therefore more readable, maybe people will read it. If you're only talking about yourself, you'll treat that the same way you treat your friend who's only talking about himself, and you probably have stopped listening. Does your message, does your newsletter say something that people are interested in? And what it's saying about yourself, is it consistent? Is it consistent with your logo, with the image, with the brand that you have determined? Are you continually reinforcing that? The beauty of the newsletter, of course, is that it works perfect for people like yourselves who have limited budgets. And no matter how much money you have, everybody has a limited budget to some level, right? A couple more questions to ask about your newsletter. Is the mailing list up to date? If people aren't getting it, it doesn't matter what it says. And are you continually adding to your list? People are dropping off all the time. They've changed jobs, they've changed their email address, they've moved away, whatever. There are people falling off your list daily. Are you continually pumping new names into there? Do you make a concerted effort to gather email addresses as often as you can? Have you ever thought about exchanging your list with another one of the persons in the SJCA's list? Have you ever considered figuring out other ways to add to your email list? Is your email well written? Is it readable? Is it well written? Is the apostrophe in the right place? Is the spelling right? Don't trust spell check. We've all learned that. You're in the arts. You more than anybody need to make sure your grammar and your spelling and everything are perfect in your newsletter. Does it just look good? People read on the internet what looks good. The first thing people judge is the appearance. If they like the appearance, they will then read the content. They don't give it long. How long do you open an email, how long do you consider before you go into it? Much more. A second? 2 seconds? However long it takes you to click on the mouse another time, you click on the mouse, you lift your index finger up, and you've got before it comes down again. That's how long you have to make that impression. Does your email look good enough that people will stay with it? You don't judge a book by a cover. Of course you do. That's why they have covers. That's why they put things on the cover, because we judge books by covers. So is your cover meeting the test? Do you have a picture? Any digital media expert will tell you you have to have a picture on your Facebook post, on your newsletter. If there's not a picture, people it doesn't even register. You need to have a picture. And does all of this reinforce your brand? That is an awful lot of information in I don't know how many minutes that was, maybe 10 minutes. And it may have been way too much for 10 minutes. And again, none of it's brain surgery. None of it is new. None of it is anything you haven't heard before. WHYY, we partner with an awful lot of cultural institutions and cultural partners, and particularly in South Jersey. My focus at WHYY is very much working with South Jersey people. That's what I'm supposed to do. And a lot of nonprofits, and the mission at WHYY is to find a way to work with those people regardless of their budgets. And that's what I do. Obviously, our audience is high income and culturally engaged, very, very culturally engaged. That's who we are, and that is what we do. That is me. Julie and Karen, thank you very much for including me. And Julie and Karen, if you wanted more interest, I'm sure they would be able to tell you how indeed you can reach me.
Thanks so much, Joe. We will be sending out a post-event email that will have Joe's contact information and links and everything that you would need to get more information about what WHYY, PBS, or NPR can help you with as far as marketing goes. The same goes for Bruce's presentation. I'll make sure I include all of that in the email so you don't have to worry about writing any of that down just yet. So with that said, now that Joe's told us a little bit about overall marketing strategy and why that's important and certain things to focus on, now Bruce Mishkin from Adventix, who is an expert in digital media for the performing arts and cultural institutions, is going to tell us a little bit more about some actionable things we can all do to make sure we have our best digital face forward.
Thank you, Julie. Let me share my screen, get things ready here. Hold on. Okay. So we're going to start out and end up with Google. Everybody uses Google. Everybody uses Google far more than they use Facebook. I want to make the distinction between social media like Facebook and Google in that, generally speaking, people do not go to Facebook when they're in search of something, in search of a business, doing research. When was the great meteor strike that killed all the dinosaurs? You know, you're not going to find that on Facebook. You will through a link on Google. So we're going to focus on Google today because it's where everybody goes when they want a problem solved. Now, the problem may be, how do I find a doctor that treats such and such? Or simple things like things to do in South Jersey this weekend. And I can't tell you, and obviously the pandemic is a rare exception, it is an exception to all of this, but pre-pandemic, the number of people who search for things to do in South Jersey, live theater, plays, musical theater for children, museums in South Jersey, cultural arts in South Jersey, what's doing this weekend, what's up in Philly, what's up in South Jersey. All of these words are called keywords. They're not single words, they're terms very often. And so what Google does is expertly answer the questions that people have. So how do you make Google a more important and more fluid part of your business in terms of the way you communicate with both your past and present clientele, as well as reach people that don't know about you? Google is a lot about discovery. To Joe's point earlier about consistency in marketing, I am with them 150%, but with Google, it may very well be your first exposure to a consumer who has never heard of you before. So it's something to keep in mind. I want to just discuss a few areas. This is part of a longer presentation that I've given to arts marketers a number of times in the past. I've shortened it for this occasion, and I want to concentrate on 3 areas in which you can make Google more effective for your business. First of all, though, the most important thing you can do is have a modern, responsive website that understands that people aren't going to read a page and know necessarily what to do. So you have to have things on there like tickets, buy tickets, a little button that says buy tickets, or call, or whatever it might be. You have to tell people what to do, and you have to answer their search. So if people are looking for upcoming calendar at such and such an institution, you want to be able to send those people to your calendar page on your website. If there are people looking for a specific performance by a specific artist, you have to send people to that page. Now, Google generally takes care of that work for you, but your pages have to be very pointed and very concise. And what I like to say very often is, with Google, have one thing per page, not a lot of things. If you have a lot of different things on a page, people aren't going to be able to find the one thing that they're looking for. Now, one of the most important things that you should know is that there is something called Google My Business. And I'm going to assume that the majority of you do know about Google My Business. Google My Business is a platform that Google has provided for free to every brick and mortar business in not only America, but the world. Google gives you an opportunity to fill out a profile, update your profile, and tell people a real lot about your business, your services, your address, links to your website, directions, updates, services that you provide, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And let me just go to the next slide here. We're going to talk about Google My Business first. There are 2 other topics I want to talk about: schema markup and Google Ads and Google Ad Grants. Let's talk about Google My Business first. To get to Google My Business, you've got to go to business.google.com, and it'll let you into the environment where you can sign up and ensure that your business is listed in Google My Business. If you don't do that, the chances are that Google will actually display your business, but your business listing will contain information that may not be correct. So you have to claim your profile on Google to make sure that you're in control of the information that you want to share with your customers and prospects. So
I'm sorry, can I just stop you for 1 second? You've got a couple of calendar pop-ups that are blocking a portion of
Okay.
your slide.
And they're both from you. So let me just get rid of those.
It's always my fault.
Yeah, it's your fault. Hold on, let me just try to remove this. Where's the event? Okay, let me get this one out of the way as well.
You can just click on the little X up there.
Yeah, but what happens is one of these items is only letting me snooze the pop-up. It's not letting me close it. So let me just, I can't get rid of this now. Jeez. I'm sorry, folks. There we go. Okay. Now what you see on your right here, this is for a client of mine whose business is obviously suspended. They're in the Asbury Park area called Axelrod Performance Center. And you've seen this when, I'm sure you've seen this kind of panel. It's called a knowledge panel. It appears both on desktop and on mobile, and it has basic information about your business. You can go directly to the website, you can get directions, or you can save this, okay? This is also where your reviews will show up, okay? So your business listing, your knowledge panel is free on Google, but you've got to claim it. You've got to go to business.google.com and claim it, okay? Then you can always populate this knowledge panel with updated information about your business. Now, one of the most important things that you can do is create a Google post. And as you can see here, this was from, I guess, about 1.5 years ago, where the Axelrod Center had Annie coming. There was, along with that knowledge panel, there was a post alerting people to the fact that Annie was coming to Axelrod, and they were able to set something up where you could order tickets from Axelrod without ever going to their website. Okay? So you can click right here. It would take you to the ticketing page, and all of this is measured by Google. So you can really test your results. But as you can see, you get a lot of real estate with these Google posts. You can use them for a number of different things. One of the things that Knowledge Panel has is Q&A, questions and answer. Don't let other people, if somebody has a question like, what are your box office hours? Or when will the theater be opening up again? Or whatever it might be, don't let other people answer those questions for you. You will be notified by Google via email if somebody has a query, and you can answer it right there. Otherwise, you may leave it up to the community to answer these questions, and their answers may be wrong, okay? But you'll always be notified of that. So understand that there's a Q&A box in your knowledge panel, and people are going to ask questions. When you're going to be reviewed, not by everybody, but by a portion of the population, one of the most important things that you can do is respond to every review, be it positive or negative. And Google gives you that opportunity, and they let you know when a review has appeared, and you can respond to it with thanks for the kind words, or if somebody is complaining that there was a broken toilet bowl in your bathroom, and that's the substance, and they give you 1 star as a result of that, that not only affects your overall rating, but if you don't, we've gotten this fixed, we're sorry, you got to respond to them, you got to engage with them. That keeps the customer loyalty. It's very, very strong. You can see here the word local guide. There are people, and I'm one of them, who are sort of trusted reviewers, okay? And these people are very active in the community, and they're often going to be leaving reviews of your organization. With Google My Business, you can find out how people got to you, how many people got to you, what kind of devices. Did they get to you by computer, by tablet, by phone? you can see the customer actions, the number of people that viewed your listing, not your website, but your listing on Google, and then the actions taken. So for instance, you'll be able to tell if somebody has gone to your website, pressed the call button, or looked at your phone number and called you, or asked for directions. Google will tell you how many people did that, okay? So it gives you a good gauge of what kind of results you're getting from your listing, from your knowledge panel on Google. Now, I showed you that Google post for Annie earlier. Let me just go back a little bit. Once you have signed up with Google My Business, and you have to sign up, generally speaking, with a Gmail address, you will have access to a screen like this. This screen is where you build your profile on Google, okay? You'll be asked a lot of questions about all the services you provide, about events coming up. You can use this to set up instant messaging with your customers through Google, where they can IM you through Google and you can respond via messaging app. You can add photos and videos to your website. And again, you can see what the performance of your listing, for instance, in the last X number of weeks. This knowledge panel got 16,000 views. There were 9,000 plus searches. And this is the number of actions that were taken. So you really know what's working for you. You can also, with Google Posts, test various items. You can test promotions. You can sell tickets to events. You can share news. You can, if you have special pricing or a price promotion, you can actually create a price promotion through the Google Posts. Here's an example of how you create a post. It's very easy. You start out by adding a photo and writing a post. And I'll show you what that looks like. So for instance, if there's an event coming up, you're going to do the start date and the end date. Let's say it's something, it might be at a museum or an art gallery that's going on for a week. You could have the start time and end time. Oops, let me go back one, I'm sorry. Okay, and as you can see here, you can add a button to that post. So book, order online, buy, learn more, sign up, get offer, etc. So you can add all of that. Then you've got to drag that photo into that box that you just saw. And this is now a created post. You're allowed up to 1,500 characters, not words. The event title, again, the start time and the end time. Just a word of caution here. You cannot do, you cannot do like with a show, you can't do one show. So November 2nd started 8, ended 11, okay? You have to do, if it's going to be for a period of time, multiple shows, multiple exhibitions, etc., the date it starts and the time it starts and the date it ends and the time it ends, okay? You'll put in at the bottom the link that you want that button to go to, so it will redirect to your website. So it's very, very simple to create one of these. It literally can take 5 minutes if you're or less if you're already prepared with your copy and your photo. It's done in 5 minutes. And the great news is it's published immediately afterwards. Now, who's going to see this? Only people that are either A, looking specifically for your organization, or B, might be looking for theaters or plays or musicals or art exhibitions, etc. When they ask for that, you're going to show up in the results, and then you can use that post to promote your offerings. Here's that. After creating that, you get to this point here where you can publish the post, and that's it. A post lasts for an event. You can post it at any time, and it will be up on your knowledge panel until the time when that event ends. For other types of promotions that are not time sensitive, your post is up for 7 days, and then it's put into an archive. Okay, let me move on to something that a lot of you may not know about. I've been preaching this for a long time, and it's called schema markup. Schema markup is a semantic language that was developed by Google, Bing, Yahoo, and a Russian search engine called Yandex back in 2011. It essentially helps structure your data and lets the search engines know exactly what the content on your page is all about. There's a big move to schema markup. If you'd like, after this session, if you'd like to get in touch with me on it or about it, I'd be happy to discuss it with you. But it's the difference between having just a result and something that is called a rich result. And I'll give you an example here. Right here, these were on the top of Google's results page, all these events that were coming up. These would not have come up if the events themselves were not marked up with schema. Schema is a special, again, structured data format that you've got to use if you want to tell Google everything about your business, about your offerings. Here's another example here, Philadelphia Art Museum, okay? I just used on a voice search, what are the Philadelphia Art Museum hours? Notice it doesn't give me the blue listing for Philadelphia Art Museum, it just gives me the time. The reason is because Philadelphia Art Museum has marked every bit of their content up in schema, gives Google the answer so they can show you the answer without taking you to the website, okay? This is called a rich result. Look here, Radio City Music Hall. Instead of just getting the listing, they had the exact shows that were coming up. So you click on those, go right to that event page and buy tickets. This will not happen without schema markup. Schema markup should be the responsibility of your webmaster. It's not something that you should be doing on yourself unless you care to learn it, okay? It's not very difficult, but it's a little bit complex and it's easy to make mistakes. Here's another example with the Metropolitan Opera. Through schema markup, Google was able to display a result like this, really rich result about Metropolitan Opera. This all, again, comes from having their content marked up. And one of the key areas that schema offers is event schema, where you can create an event and put it not in code, it's in English, but it's got to follow certain guidelines. Here's another example of schema markup where they're able to show a beautiful result like this, again, instead of one of those, blue listings on the Google results page. This is what schema markup looks like. It's very formatted. You have to put your information you can do about your organization, about your personnel, about videos, about virtually anything you want. So this is what it looks like. This is the way your content is added. There are plugins that help get this done. There are companies that can do this for you if your webmaster is not prepared. To get a little better look at what this would look like, you can test the content and make sure that all the information is correct. This is called Google Schema Markup Test. And then it will give you an example of what it will look like when it's on screen, when somebody is searching for whatever it is you're selling, okay? And then here's another example. All of these kinds of things do not happen unless you've marked your content up. And when I say mark it up, this is in addition to what you would normally do. You just use a schema plugin and then plug in the information you want, test it out, and then when somebody's looking for jazz concerts near me, you're going to show up in a format like this instead of people having to scroll down 10, 20, 30 links, etc. So this is a real search result. The last area I want to get to are Google Ads and Google Ad Grants. I can make an assumption that all of you know about Google Ad Grants, but just in case you don't, Google Ad Grants is part of Google for Nonprofits. In order to use Google Ad grants, you must be a member of Google for Nonprofits. If you're a nonprofit, you will be accepted, and then you will have to apply for a Google Ad grant. The beautiful thing about the Google Ad grant is Google gives you $10,000 a month in advertising credit to advertise on Google. Okay. Rarely is that money going to be anywhere near spent, but it's free advertising on Google. Now, let me give you an example here. You're going to have to do things like keyword research, depending on, again, if it's a show, what kind of show. So like Activities Kids New Jersey, buy tickets for Broadway show, children's live theater shows, best children's show, children's theater, musical. When you do an ad campaign, you have to research on Google all of the terms that people are using to find what you're offering, or at least the category of what you're offering. You have to create what are called ad groups. So you can see here, child-friendly plays and child-friendly theater shows go into this group. Children's events, children's shows, children's musicals. Why do you do that? So that when you write an ad, the content of that ad will be what the person is looking for. So a good example is live children's events. You would write an ad that actually says live events for children. If the keyword is live children's shows, you'll have a different ad that will say live shows for children. You have to answer that search. It's the greatest way, the easiest way to get somebody to click your ad and get to your website. And here's how you create an ad. This is the format that you use. You write the destination of that, where you want that click to go, a headline, another headline, a third headline, a customized URL extension, Axelrod Center, plays for children. What you're doing is putting that keyword in again. When you put a keyword in your extension or in your headline, Google puts it in bold. And then, okay, after you've done that, then here's what the ad looks like. You can have what are called site links, so you can sign people up to your mailing list. You can promote other shows as well. Obviously, it says ad here, so people do know it's an ad. Okay, here's the way it looks on desktop, but it's the same exact ad. You can also do what are called extensions. So it says 5 minutes from Asbury Park, handicap accessible, state-of-the-art theater, etc. When you do ads, you have to, according to Google Ad Grants guidelines, you must have 2 ad groups. An ad group is a group of similar keywords, and you must have a minimum of 2 ads per group so Google can test out which is most effective. The other thing that you can do is drop a Google tracking code into onto your website so that Google can track the actions that people take. And you have to repeat this process for each ad group. Very often when I create a campaign, I might have 175 different ads promoting just one event. And each one of those ads is using keywords that the person initially put into Google search box. Again, I want to remind you, Google Ad Grants gives you $10,000 a month in credit. That $10,000 a month is based on accumulated clicks. Click prices depend on the competitiveness of any given business. So I'll give you an example. Personal injury lawyers, where the opportunity to make tens of thousands or even millions of dollars on an accident case, for instance, these lawyers are willing to pay $100 a click to get a client. In your field, clicks can range from 13 cents to maybe $9 and change. Things to do this weekend is a $9 click. So if you're paying cash, you're eating that money up pretty quickly. But with $10,000 in credits to use for clicks, just keep going. Do as much as you can. One caveat, and I'll get to this, okay? I mentioned these site links so that we could promote upcoming shows, etc. But let me get you to another page here. Oh, this monitors your campaign on a daily basis. You can see how many clicks you got, how many turned into sales, what the click-through rate was, and what your cost up to that date from the beginning of your campaign was. Okay, so for instance, for $123 in ad credits, they sold, now figure if this is theater tickets, there were at least 2 tickets per sale. So they sold 130 or 100, let's say 135 tickets, and let's say the tickets were $50 each. Well, you can see they spent $123 and got several $1,000s in ticket sales as a result of that, and you can track it. So the days of, I know my advertising is working, I just don't know where my results are coming from, that's not the case with Google. You know exactly where it's coming from, okay? In order to get a Google Ad Grant, you must be a 501c3, you must apply to Google for nonprofits, and apply for Google Ad Grants. You get up to $10,000 a month in credit. You can geo-target whatever areas you want down to 1 zip code, okay? You have to have a minimum of 2 ad groups and a minimum of 2 ads per ad group. Site link extensions, which can promote other things. You can even use a site link to send people to your donation page where they can donate to you. Now, here's the key, and this is the hardest part. You must maintain a 5% click-through rate. If for 2 months in a row, less than 5% of people click your ads, you lose your ad grant. One of the best ways to make sure that you have a high click-through rate as well as success is to buy your own organization's name as a keyword. So when somebody, and you've seen this when you've been looking, let's say for Walmart, you're not going to see a regular blue listing. You'll see a Walmart ad at the top of the page, okay? Why do that when people are going to be coming to you anyway? Here's why. You control the message with an ad, instead of leaving it up to Google to say something that might not be what you want to say, or might be showing something on your website that you don't want to promote. By taking an ad and using your organization's name as a keyword, you control the message. You control where you want to send people. And that is it, my friends. This is a quick version of Google. Google is the only place where customers come to you. You don't have to pound away with advertising all the time. When they're ready to buy, they go to Google to find out, where can I find this thing? Or where can I see a show? All righty? And I will.
Thanks, Bruce. There were several questions that came in as your presentation slides were up. So I messaged them all to you in the chat. If you open your chat,
Yes,
you
I
should
will. Hold on one second.
see all of those cut and pasted there.
Hold on one second. I'm unable to close this window for some reason. Okay. Let me open this up here.
And I can
I see the chat.
read
Lots of questions.
that's
Okay.
here.
All right, let's start at the beginning here. Okay.
I think the first question was, can you use a non-Google address for Google My Business? Because someone has an email address that uses their domain name and not a Gmail address.
I would advise, I believe you can, but I would advise setting up a Gmail address. And the reason for that is that address will carry across the whole Google ecosystem, from Google Calendar to Google Drive. I would advise doing that. It's easy enough to get a Gmail address. Okay. Okay. When you say, are there fees associated? This is different from Google Ads. Not sure what that means. The Google My Business is different. It's free. Google My Business is free. It's up to you to keep it as updated as possible and to claim your listing. Okay? Where and how is Schema updated? Does a developer need to do this? Schema is updated as regularly as you update your website. Okay? Especially when it comes to events. To make sure that those events are marked up in Schema. And yes, you do need a developer to help you out if you are not in a position to do it on your own. I've lost, oh, here we go. Okay. I see here the Google My Business has a 12, DLLS dollars fee times a month. Again, Google My Business is free for you to use. You have to be the one responsible to update your Google My Business listing and also monitor things like reviews and, as I said earlier, and questions that are coming in. Okay. I have a Google ad grant for the nonprofit and have Google for my own business. I received notices that I have, for instance, $150 credit for my business page. I don't understand what that means or what is used for and any costs associated with the Google schematics. Let's set a couple of things apart here. Schema, not schematics. Schema is the name of this software or this language. It's called schema markup, not schematics, okay? As far as a credit for your business page, your Google My Business page, again, is free. There shouldn't be any credit because it doesn't cost anything. But again, it's up to you to keep up with it, okay? And I guess that's it. Of course, if there's time, I'll be happy to take other questions.
Or if anyone has any questions for Joe Mitchell as well, this would be a great time for that. We've got just a few minutes left until the close of the session. So if you have any questions at all, you can put them in the chat or raise a hand. Let us know. Okay, well, it looks like the questions, we've gathered them all. As I said, I'm going to be including contact information for Joe and for Bruce, as well as you have our contact information. You can ask any of us questions at any time. If we're not the right people to answer them, we can certainly connect you with the appropriate resources or people who can answer your questions. There's a quick poll that I'm going to put up right now that is just asking how you felt about today's session, if you thought the topic was relevant or useful to you. We like to keep track and make sure that we are doing presentations that you want us to do and that the information we're putting out there is useful and helping you do what you do better. So I'm going to leave that poll up just for a few seconds here and say thank you to everyone for attending. We really appreciate your time and joining with us every month to connect and learn together. A couple of things we have coming up at SJCA. You'll be getting a newsletter soon with all the details, but we do have our next South Jersey Creatives at the Table session coming up on February 18th at 6 p.m. And that's got artist Pedro Fuller, who's a Latinx artist that's worked in South Jersey for many years and does large scale paintings. He's going to be doing a virtual studio tour and discussing his work. So that should be a great event. And then, as I said, the newsletter will have all the other bits and pieces of things that we've been working on here at SJCA. So thank you again to Bruce and to Joe Mitchell from WHYY for helping us today with this presentation. We certainly appreciate your time, and the information has been great. We've gotten quite a few comments in the chat about how wonderful it is. So with that said, I just want to wish everyone a good day, and again, watch for our post-session email, and we will be happy to give you all the information you need to get in contact with Joe, Bruce, or SJCA to answer your questions. So thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Have a great weekend. Stay warm
Yes, you too. You need that.
and safe and safe.
Great. Anyone remaining still have questions, or just double checking before I kick everyone out of the room? I don't like to just shut the door before everyone.
I hope you guys didn't mind getting a tour of my house.
No, quite all right. That's one of the things I like about this new Zoom environment. We get to see everybody's personal space and learn a little more about them, outside the.
Because I was losing my connection on the computer. I was running around trying to find a better connection, so you got to see all different rooms, and thankfully they all were clean.
Oh, good. That's a bonus. That's a bonus. Yes. Okay. Well, I think everyone else is out of the room. People seem to really enjoy the session.
Yeah, thank you so much. It worked out really nicely.
Okay. All right. Well, then I am going to end here.
There you are. Now I can hear you. Sorry.
Since everyone is out of the room besides us, I think we're probably finished for today. Thank you again, Joe.
Did that work? Was that what you were looking for? I'm not really sure. I hope.
Absolutely. It was exactly what we were looking for. And if you have anything that you want me to share in that post-event email, just send it to me, and I'm happy to include links and emails and a little paragraph about what you can help our members with.
I'm sure our members would love the slide presentation because, even though they'll get the recording, it just might help jar their memories. And is that something you would want to share? Are you frozen, Joe? Yeah, you are frozen.
Frozen? I was thinking he was sitting very still. Okay, do you see the results of the poll?
No.
Oh,
polls. No.
As I'm sharing, it says share poll results.